pile in before we explain your eye and before we talk about things. Because if not, people will miss it. Even if we have anybody
I
watching us.
noticed it's like this, eh?
What is? Your eye, yeah.
So,
We might not get that many people today because it's
no,
the first week back to work.
and that's fine. What is there?
Let us know when you're there. I see a couple of people watching. Let us know who you are. Say hello. Don't be shy.
Which points are mine?
I don't know. We can just talk.
Oh, okay.
I think you should be able to talk about this one without needing prompts, to be honest. You need your glasses on, huh?
No, that's good.
Say hello when you're there. We're just hanging out. We're just waiting for some people to pile in. We're a bit early because we want to give you, hey, Sonia, we want to give people adequate time to get in before we start talking. Hey, Carla. We're going to talk about it in a second so that everybody knows why he looks like the way he does. Hey, Denise.
I might look the part, but I sure didn't play the part that night.
You good?
Yeah, I'm just going through this.
When you're there, say hello. Let us know who you are. We're going to start here in a sec. We came on a bit early just so people could pile in rather than coming on at 3, waiting for you all to pile in and then not starting on time. So we're just going to give it another maybe minute or two, and then we will start. Today we're going to talk about how to approach your goals realistically and sustainably. I thought that this was a good topic for the start of a new year. We're the first week into 2025. Happy New Year, by the way. And we're going to explain why Kevin looks like that. Hey, Melissa. Some of my clients already know.
Yeah, yeah.
Or all of my clients, I should say, already
The
know.
client should know.
Good morning, evening, or afternoon, depending, I guess, on where you are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sam. Happy New Year. Okay, do you want to talk about your eye?
Sure, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So last Saturday, playing hockey. Not going to play hockey for a while, obviously, because we're going away for a little while and then won't be able to play hockey much. So I was really looking forward to a good game. Second shift on the ice, the guy decides to backhand the puck. Puck hits me in the face. Now I'm the only dumbass on the whole crew that I skate with that doesn't use a face shield or a visor. So that will now change. But yeah, I took a puck to the face. Wasn't very pleasant.
He has the swelling's gone down a bit and the bruising's actually gone down a bit, but he has a few fractures right here and I think something up here, and well, obviously a black eye.
And 5 stitches.
And the swelling's actually gone down quite a bit now too, and 5 stitches, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why he looks like that, not because I beat him up or anything, just just for that. Okay, so today, want to start? Yeah, so today we're going to talk about how to approach your goals realistically and sustainably going into, well, anytime you're really trying to achieve a goal, but specifically this year because this is the time of year when most people set new goals or they tend to go maybe a little bit deeper into trying to achieve something. So what I wanted to do was kind of go over the way that I coach, I guess, setting goals and making them realistic and sustainable. And one of the I'll just tell, I guess, a story that we can probably all relate to, which is that in a past, myself, actually, you've done it too, where you choose a goal, usually fat loss, or what I'm talking about today is around fat loss, improving your habits around food, and in the past for me it was I'm going to eliminate all the things. I'm going to restrict all the things. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to rip all of these band-aids off, be hardcore, go balls to the wall, no pain, no gain, all of those things. And I would last a few weeks, maybe even up to 3 months potentially.
Yeah.
And then everything would be gone. And I would be completely back to square one or worse off than even when I had started because I would feel shitty now about myself because I couldn't keep doing the thing.
Yeah, because you get so hyped up about it in the very beginning, and because realistically, what your goal is very attainable, but it's just the methodology you use to get it.
Absolutely. So we go into it and tend to, when we think of something and we want that something now. So we want it yesterday, basically. And because we think of it like that, and because we think we want it yesterday, and because the way that, especially this time of year, there's so many ads and so many things that promote the quick fix, the instant gratification, the take a pill and you'll achieve this, do this wrap and you'll achieve this, et cetera, et cetera. It's really easy to get caught in, I can start today and I can be where I want to be in just a couple weeks. And that's basically complete bullshit. And
Well, yeah, it's bullshit in one way, but not necessarily, because you can do all the wraps, the detoxes, and all that kind of shit, and achieve the results.
yes, but you're not
Right.
wrong.
So
Not that the results don't happen, but the results and being able to keep them
right.
will never happen that way.
So the other thing that we should probably talk about is making sure that the
Yep.
result isn't
Um,
just the goal.
Yeah, I'm going to get there. So
You are?
yes.
Okay.
So what I wanted to touch on is I wanted to tell that as the story because a lot of times we have that mindset going in is I need it now. I want to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to do all these hardcore things and I'm going to go. And our motivation at that point in time is really, really high. And so we don't even necessarily think about what we've always done and the cycle and the pattern that we've always had or the same old story that we've always told ourselves. And nor do we recognize that that's part of a pattern that we have. Instead, we just do the thing, we rip the Band-Aid off, and then, as I said, weeks later, we've stopped, and now we feel shitty about ourselves, and we've gone backwards. When we're setting goals and we want them to be sustainable, i.e., we want to not only achieve fat loss or we want to not only achieve changes to our physique or whatever, but we also want to be able to sustain those things, we have to think long term. We have to think, if I do this today, am I going to be able to keep doing this more or less or some capacity of this forever, basically?
Right.
Because you have to build on skills and practices in order to create behaviors and habits and the outcomes that you desire over time.
Right, because I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls and mistakes that people make when they set goals, especially for that type of thing this time of year, is they fail to recognize, life beyond the goal.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I know that, body composition changes, fat loss, physique changes, aesthetics are what most people, when they think about changes to food, exercise, etc., that's what they want. That's what you want. But ultimately, your outcome goal is not just that, because you'll be super disappointed in yourself if you get somewhere and then you end up going backwards and or worse than when you started. You ultimately want, the ultimate outcome is that I want to achieve these goals, but I want to be able to sustain them. I want to become a person who prioritizes exercise, prioritizes healthy habits so that I can sustain my physique goals and also enjoy living my life.
Right. So you also know that you have to, once certain goals are achieved, you have to recognize that those are goals that you have to build upon.
So yeah, so oftentimes what will happen is a lot of people have a surface level goal. And what I mean by that is that, again, it's only based around aesthetics, or it's only based around, I need to do or cut out or avoid X, Y, Z, and I will get to this end goal, which is A. But if we go into it looking at just only surface level stuff, we never dig into the identity and the habits and behaviors that we actually need to change in order to be able to become a person who keeps these things.
Right.
And who keeps it going long term. So when we're setting goals, not only are avoid goals, i.e., I'm restricting all the junk food, I'm taking away pop, I'm taking away chips, I'm never having any more cookies, I'm going to not just walk, but I need to run every day. I'm going to work out 7 days a week, whatever. When we look at goals like that, they require an extreme amount of psychological energy, and they require an extreme amount of mental, like extreme mental capacity to be able to keep going.
Right.
And therefore, also, when we tell, what happens when I tell you, or you tell yourself, or you tell me that you can't do something, that you don't, that you simply can't have X, or can't do X, or no, you're not doing whatever, automatically the mindset is fuck that, and that's all you think about is the thing that you can't have or can't do.
Yeah.
When technically, if you tell yourself, I'm going to work to be a little bit better, I'm going to be 1% better, I'm going to do something over nothing, I'm going to aim for consistency, not perfection. What are some other things, sayings that I use? They're going to do no 0 days even.
Right.
Then those things build on skills, behaviors, practices, habits. And then over time, when you put in a little bit of effort to start and then you get really good at that level, now you can up your effort to the next level. Right. And up your effort and continue to grow while these other habits that you started with have now started to become more natural. And then you're going to add on the next thing, which is then going to become natural. But in order to be able to become a person who sustains the lifestyle and sustains the habits, you're not only working to change the surface stuff, you're working to dig deeper to change your mindset and change basically your identity over time. You're right now, you probably don't really identify, and it's hard for you to show up and do a workout or eat protein and fiber and vegetables and fruit with most of your meals or whatever, and not eat that many cookies or that many treats or those things. But over time, as you practice the skills slowly and sustainably, you will become a person who, enjoys exercise and who, I don't know, becomes somebody who wants to eat the protein, fiber, and vegetables because it makes you feel really good.
Right.
Or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, because you can't be just looking at the fact that, okay, I have a goal to achieve. What's the minimum that I have to do to get there, right? It's like you're saying that there are skills to learn, there's mindset changes, there's knowledge, there's behaviors. Achieving a goal is can be, shouldn't say it is can be a very complex undertaking, because there's a lot more to think about to achieve a goal than just, well, to have a clean driveway, all I got to do is get the shovel and push the snow off. That's very basic. Mm-hmm. But when you're looking at fat loss as a goal, you've got to go back and understand, okay, if I have weight on that I want to lose, how did I get that weight on in the first place? How long did it take me to get to my body composition the way I am today? Mm-hmm. And that's what I don't think people recognize. I think people just look at themselves and go, I don't like the way I look. I want to change that. And I know that if I eliminate carbs, run like hell on a treadmill, I'm going to get there, right? Mm-hmm. And because that's a very
and don't think past that point,
right? And but the point of my saying there is that realistically, based on diet culture and things that people have done in the past, they know that if they've done that in the past, they've achieved the result,
right?
But
we're not thinking beyond.
Exactly. They're not thinking about, okay, well, now I got my result. Now what do I do? Right. That's very rarely a thought process. Absolutely. So now this is where this comes into play, and you really have to stop and take a look before you start your journey on your goal, and think about all those things. Think about how you got where you are, and think about and recall how bad it was when you restricted everything. How much you hated going to the gym because
you had no energy.
You had no energy because you weren't eating the right foods, because you restricted everything. You hated your life because you cut out all the alcohol and all the chips and all the good things and stuff that you have on occasions when you go out and eat and things like that. Like if you can go back and compartmentalize all that and then start the process of your journey.
Yeah, and I think that hits a really good nail on the head, because it's really, really easy for us to put our heads in the sand and to not think about all the other times. Like, we don't, as human beings, we're not very good at being objective, and we're not being very good at being self-aware. Unless somebody points it out to us, we don't always notice it. And even sometimes when somebody points it out to us, we still keep our head in the sand and say, fuck that, I'm just doing this anyway.
Right.
But we're really, really good at putting our head in the sand and pretending that this is just what I need, because realistically, what we're trying to do when we say that this is only what we need, even though we know it ends in the same way every other one always ended, is we don't want to dig into the uncomfortable stuff. We
Right.
don't want to have to do it for X number of years in order to get here. We don't want to have to um, maybe sometimes be accountable to somebody else, because what if we don't do it, or what if we fail, or what if whatever. And that's harder. It's harder to do it slow and sustainably, to do it um what's the word I'm looking for, to do it in a capacity where you actually become a different person. And it is in a lot of ways too also scary,
Right.
because we all have patterns. We have patterns maybe of trying something and always failing. We have patterns of convincing ourselves of something, and then, as I said, only doing the surface level stuff to achieve something. We have patterns of also, I want the results yesterday, and then we feel entitled to something without actually putting any effort in.
Right.
And then we get down on ourselves when we're not seeing anything happen progress wise, but yet technically speaking, we're not putting any effort. We're not taking radical responsibility. We're playing a victim, but yet we're not doing anything to change it. And it's on us to take the action. So when you're setting from an advice perspective, when you're setting goals in this first week of 2025 or beyond, think about not necessarily ripping band-aids off. At the end of the day, I don't think that there's always something wrong with elimination and deprivation to a certain extent. But what I'm going to qualify that with is that over time, your ability to eliminate things that don't serve you will become easier if you start small.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. Somebody commented in here, she's going to be a client of mine in my 6 week coming up next week. And she said her goal this week was to basically cut out food in the nighttime. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that goal. But what we have to be careful of is that, why do you think restricting and eliminating food in the nighttime is the main source of your issues?
What's the purpose?
Because probably what's your issue is that you don't eat enough protein and fiber and balanced meals throughout the day, which makes you hungrier at night, and or you've made a habit of just sitting around watching TV and just eating mindlessly. So we have to work on this. We can't just work on that surface level of, I'm going to eliminate and restrict food at night. We have to work deeper, because if we don't address the deeper rooted issue, this surface level issue is eventually going to be just white knuckling through, and you're never going to make it work.
Right.
But over time, you will probably be able to eliminate food at night because you're fuller, because you're eating more protein, you're eating more fiber, you're eating balanced meals throughout the day, you're implementing a consistent meal timing strategy. You have distraction methods, you have ways of dealing with your emotions that are different than what they are now. But we have to work up to the elimination factor.
Right. And the other thing to think about is a lot of people want to eliminate that late night or midnight snacking or whatever, because they think that because they eat late, their body doesn't digest it. It just goes.
Yes, and people have there's so many myths in this industry that are wrong. So that's a myth. That what Kevin just said is a myth. Calories at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night are the same as calories at 8 o'clock in the morning. So technically speaking, you can eat food at night. It's just you have to stay within if fat loss is your goal, you have to stay within your calorie deficit, and you have to prioritize certain foods over others in order to create nourishment, keep yourself fuller, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say, which is basically goes back to this, which is when you're setting your goals, think about slow, sustainable progress over time and improvement. So practice improvement, as opposed to, I need to do this, I need to do it today, I need to have these goals yesterday. And because that puts you in a tailspin at the end of the day. That puts you in a very, what's the word you would use for that?
Spin dry.
Well, that's what the word he uses for me when I go into crazy mode. So when you're trying to achieve a goal and all you can think about is the fact of having it yesterday, you're technically going into spin dry, and now you can't focus and you can't.
Yeah, you become
overwhelmed. You can't retain yourself within the slow and steady, and then before you know it, once again, you're ripping off band-aids and you're going hardcore, which is again what you've always done. So you're just repeating the same old cycle. Right. If we're able to keep things slow and still progress, obviously, but slow progression allows you to instill habits in your life, and instill skills and instill practices, it becomes sustainable. If you are able to keep it as simple as fucking possible, like literally, what would this look like in my life if it was easy? If this was easy to me, what would it look like? That's how you become consistent, and consistency is the only way to make progress.
Right.
There are many, many, many things in this process that can be adapted, that can be changed, that can be tweaked to you as an individual. Consistency is not one of them. So if you can keep it as simple as possible, if it appears easy, that's how you're going to be able to sustain it, practice it, improve it, work on upping your effort level over time.
Right. I think the other biggest thing to do when you set out a goal is to not put a defined end date to that goal.
Good point.
Because when you put a defined end date to the goal, and if it takes longer, because you brought up a really important point earlier about failure. So when you have a goal that you set a specific time to, and like you say,
Mhm.
you're not consistent about it. There's certain things you're on the roller coaster of ripping the band-aid off and then slowing down and then ripping the band-aid off. You're not going to meet your targeted date for that goal. And when you set yourself up like that, there's a high potential for setting yourself up for failure. So what you have to do is you have to understand that you need to develop the knowledge, the skills, the mindsets, the habits before you can necessarily start achieving that goal or being on the path to
Right.
achieving that goal.
Absolutely. I think that here's what I think. I think that because some people will say things like, well, you need to have a timeline for your goals. And to a certain capacity, I agree,
Yeah.
but not an outcome goal. And
Yeah.
here's how I'm going to qualify this one. So an outcome goal would be like, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to lose 80 pounds. That's an outcome goal, and that can be a great goal. However, you can't control that outcome. You can't control how long it takes. You can't control how your body reacts. You can only control the behaviors, habits, skills, practices that you implement to get you to said outcome over time. So you can have timelines on your behaviors, i.e., I want to practice walking X number of steps every day for 30 days, as an example. That over time then will build into a habit that you do it every day forever. Amen. But you can put certain timelines on those things. It's the timeline of, or I'm going to train to run a 5K. Obviously, you have a deadline for the 5K, so you need to have a timeline and a training schedule of how you're going to get to that 5K. But a 20-pound weight loss goal is great, but there's no way we can determine how long that will take. We can determine based on averages how long it potentially might take, but we can't say for sure how long it'll take your body to achieve it.
Right. It makes me cringe when you get a potential client saying, "Okay, I want to join your 6 week program. I got a wedding coming up that I'm going to go to in 6 weeks, and I want to be in this size of dress."
The thing is that at the end of the day, we have to remember that just like Kevin said, there's no timeline and you shouldn't have an end date on your goals. And the reason for that is because when you are trying to achieve a lifestyle change that includes fat loss as a byproduct, there is no end date because it has to be something that you change about yourself that goes on forever and ever and ever.
It's a permanent
change.
Yeah.
So, and this is where it gets sticky because a lot of mindsets, because of diet culture, are I want to lose 30 pounds, and that's fine. Maybe you have an end date on that. But in order to be able to keep that 30 pounds off, you have to do the things that got you there and you have to continue to do them. So that's why sustainable change, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I got something.
Sustainable change. Sustainable needs to be the thing that is in forefront of your mind. Sorry, go ahead now.
Yeah, no. The sad part of it is that if somebody didn't put an end date to their fat loss and weight loss goal and just implemented the steps and the consistency, they would achieve their goal a lot sooner.
Fat loss would be a byproduct.
They would get to it a lot sooner if they just got out of their own head and stopped looking for that specific number.
It's funny, I have a client that's been with me online since 2017. And in the last, I'm going to say 3 years or so, she's been in a zone of maybe even 4 years. She's been in a zone where she's completely dialed in and she's just living. She sustained her results, give or take 5 pounds, maintenance. And one of the things she said to me, I think it was a couple of years ago, she did a photo shoot and she wrote a post and I shared it on my Instagram and on my page. And she said, one of the things she wished she had realized before was that she was so focused on scale numbers, so focused on being hard on herself, so focused on all of these things and why it wasn't happening yesterday. Had she just dialed in on the habits, dialed in on the behaviors, focused on getting a little bit better, upped her effort, continued to improve and work to improve on getting stronger, implementing progressive overload, yada, yada, fat loss is a byproduct of all of that regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, obviously. But more often than not, when you begin to change your mindset around food, the awareness you have around food, when you change the mindless snacking, the improved choices you have around food, the portion sizes, all of that, that automatically almost always creates a deficit anyway.
Yeah.
It's just those things of the mindsets and the awareness moving forward and how certain habits, behaviors, patterns, whatever, skills, they need to be implemented moreover as you go, and they'll create the byproduct of fat loss. But to be able to sustain it, you need to be able to practice all of these things so that those things, the awareness specifically, helps you be able to over time call yourself out on your own bullshit so that you don't fall back into the same trap or go backwards over time. So I don't know. I just want to leave this. Do you have anything else? I want to leave this video with basically this, what I have to say here.
So one quick little thing I want to come up with, because we talked about failure and things like that about earlier. And the one thing I just wanted to say about that is you said something about accountability and needing a personal trainer or something like that. And somebody that's reluctant to have a trainer because they feel that they can't meet their accountability, that they're going to feel like a failure to that trainer. And you're not meeting your goals, you're not doing what you said you were going to do. And if that's the case, well, then, shame on you. You need to do the things. But the personal trainer is not there to chastise you and say, and beat on you and pick on you because you didn't do these certain things. A personal trainer or a coach is there as your guide. And they help you go through the days where you feel like you can't do nothing, and I just want to make sure that people understand that by hiring a coach or hiring a personal trainer, whether it's in person or online or whatever, is your best way of achieving the goals. Not looking at it as I need to have somebody cracking a whip, but you do need somebody to cheer you on in the corner, and you need somebody to call you out on your bullshit when you need it. And you also need to have somebody coach you through the mindset issues, because in my opinion, the mindset portion and the learning portion, if you don't have those things down pat outside of standard diet culture, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed.
It's, in my opinion, that's a really good point. But I think that I'll add to it and say that because you said it at the very end, which I was like waiting for you to say. In my opinion, it's the learning. It's the unlearning and relearning, I guess I would say, because from my experience, even after I competed, I thought I knew a lot. And when I hired my current coach and I actually changed, as in, because after I competed, I thought, oh, I'm going to compete forever. And this is how I'm going to be able to maintain this. And oh, I'm so hardcore and I'm so disciplined and yay me. And then it was like, wow, I'm fucked. I'm worse than I was before. And then when I hired my current coach, I basically had to take my I know this already hat off and lean into unlearning all the things I thought I knew and relearning the things that actually were sustainable for me. And I think that's where a coach comes in. A coach comes in where, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of women that I talk to think that they know what they need to do. They just don't do it. We all say it. We all have said it. I'm included in that when I say that. And more often than not, what you think you need to do is completely fucked. Excuse my language. But what you think you need to do is all or nothing, restriction, ripping, is all the things that we just talked about here that you shouldn't do if you want things to be sustainable. And then, of course, there is the stuff that Kevin talked about, which is the mindset stuff, the being somebody to be objective with you, is somebody to call you out on your bullshit, but also give you that encouragement. And that I think I do a really good job, and Carla's here, and Melissa's here, and Sonia's worked with me before, and Sam too, of helping my clients learn how to implement as much grace as they do grit. Right. So there's a very fine balance between, I need to give myself grace today because of perimenopause, or I need to give myself grace today because I'm not feeling well, or I need to give myself grace today because PMS is fucking really terrible, or whatever the case might be, or I'm just having a hard time with stress in my life right now, versus, okay, there's literally no reason I can't do a workout. I need to get a kick in the ass and I need to do it now. So I'm going to do it. Or I need to contact Melissa so she can tell me to go do it, or whatever. But there is a lot of things that, and this is not just me and Kevin tooting my own horn or our own horn. Whether you choose me as your coach or you choose somebody else or a personal trainer or whatever, it's that ability to be objective with you. It's that ability to call you out on your bullshit. It's the ability to be tough with you and tell you the things you need to hear, not what you want to hear. But it's also the ability to say, hey, you need to give yourself some grace right here, right now, because life is hard. And this circumstance you're in, you can't control. So we're just gonna focus on the things that we can control and move forward from there.
Right.
So what I want to leave you with is this. I think that it's important when you set goals that you understand that you will be challenged and that you need to be uncomfortable. If you want something new in your life, you cannot do it through easy. You cannot do it through blaming everything on somebody else, your husband, your kids, your work, your whatever. You have to make it a priority. There's no way out of it. However, it can be simple, it can be sustainable, and it can be it can be small and slowly done over time. You need to push yourself, and I guess one of the things that I have heard lots of other coaches talking about now, and I think it's a really important thing to talk about, is stopping this mindset that you're entitled to something that you're not doing the work for. You have to put in the effort. I've been doing this for 14 years and I still grow and I still learn something new almost every day. You have to be willing to put in the effort. You are not entitled to results if you are not doing the work. So you have to change. Change doesn't happen without change, even though it can be simple and slow and sustainable. And the last thing that I want to leave you with, and then we're just going to end it here, is that it's important when you set goals to understand that you don't need to work harder. You just need to work smarter. And smarter is very, very important and something that we don't always acknowledge, because you can work really, really hard and keep spinning your wheels forever, or you can work really, really smart and not only have your fat loss goals, but also understand how to sustain them over time. I think that's all we have.
That's it.
Okay, we're going. See you next time. Thanks for coming. In Mexico. And if you watch the replay, let us know you watched the replay. And we will be coming from Mexico the next one in February and I guess in March. Yes. Okay. All the best, guys.